That's right. That's like a computer. I like a regular old school.
Me too.
Only a curmudgeon for
a real
very
watch.
good
Yeah, I'm old school.
Yeah.
Do you remember Inspector
I
Gadget?
have a couple of real watches,
Remember,
but
so
nobody seems
Penny,
to wear them.
you know, she had that really cool watch, and she could talk to
But I wear
Brain,
them
and she
once
could
in
do
a
all
while.
kinds of things with it. And all I wanted when I grew up was to be her, and to have a watch that could do all the things. My dream has come true. So
Yeah.
now with these smartwatches, you can literally do everything, as long as your home is built to do the smart things.
So I
Just doesn't work out right,
I
right?
gave in when I started running for office and bought myself
Right, that's my thing.
a flip
You
phone.
know, you just go with the
Whoa.
flow.
Cell phone.
Whoa,
That was a huge
that's a big
move
step.
And I hope I have everything.
Okay, got it. Is that where you still
I
are?
get my laptop here.
No screen on that.
I'm used to it now.
I had everything right on that.
I'm proud of it.
Right here is on the mayor's
awesome.
communications
Also
from
very
last week.
relaxed with it.
So I got it all right here.
Because I can wait till they get home and turn on my
I only
my
have one
Windows
thing
8.
myself tonight.
Oh,
I
yeah?
had
Oh, gosh.
had only
Security
one from the last
issues, I
couple
would
of weeks.
upgrade.
I left the house without 'em.
Absolutely upgrade.
I'm so
They're
used
no
to,
longer
As long as it-
servicing,
not as
not
long as
needing
it does
them.
what it's supposed
You know what
to
I
do.
mean?
Yeah.
To some extent,
well,
until you start getting
mine is
hacked,
canceled
because they no
so-
longer provide security for that operating system.
Think about it.
Peter coming? Oh, I see, that's how it works. Right. The rest
he
of
might
the
not
slow
come
you
till
thinking about it.
Doesn't have anything.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I
understand.
I live a very low-stress
Kathleen
life.
needed some support if everybody was going mental. That's why I came to
And I'm about ready.
Discussed tonight, but I'm going to hold off on the historical commission one. So what I hope to do this evening is discuss and possibly vote out the fee waiver policy that was proposed, and discuss and possibly vote out some action on the mayoral vacancy issue. The fee waiver policy, Kelly, Council Bennett, you weren't here, but this came about because last year, I think it was, we had gotten 2 requests in short succession to waive building fees. One was to the tune of $100,000, and there was another one for New Hope, I think it was 10, it was for a lesser amount. But it occurred to me at that point that we didn't have a procedure for this, how do we do this? So for what it's worth, I decided to write a fee waiver policy. I have run this by various department heads, including the city planner, Bill McDonough, the auditor. I think Catherine Farrick was also involved. Jerry might have seen it. They all seem to believe it's a good idea. It's not, to be honest with you, something that we're going to come across all the time, but if and when we do get these requests, we have some kind of formal process for what's expected of the requester and what we need to see as a body to approve it. So it's pretty straightforward. Again, maybe something we might not see for a while, but if we get another one, we have a process by which to follow. I wasn't going to read it in to the record, if that's okay with everybody.
Do you want a second?
Yeah, well, yes, a second. Well, I haven't moved yet, but I'll move, and then you can let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I entertain a motion to approve the following fee waiver policy for waiving building department permit fees pursuant to section 3-8.2 of the revised ordinances.
Second.
So again, I don't intend to read it all. I don't think that's necessary in this instance. I think what would happen is that this would live perhaps with Bill McDonough and the building department to be completed if and when requests came about again. Yes, Councilor Holmes?
Thank you. The only thing I didn't hear was the city solicitor. Did she review this?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you for that. I did.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it makes sense. I mean, it does come up sometimes, and it would be helpful to have this.
Yeah, it's just kind of a formal policy to have on the books, because I didn't know if we keep track of these things, and even as a body, what the criteria are for certain situations. So I thought we might want to have a little bit more control of the situation, because last one, as you call it, came down from the mayor's office. But this gives us some understanding of what we expect to see, when we make a decision. So that was part of my intention. Councilor Dolan?
Are you going to read it into the record in full, council, or?
I wasn't going to. I don't think that's required.
It's not? Okay.
No, Councilor Holmes, you're of that understanding as well, right? I know you had asked that question when you were chair. It's not, Councilor Dolan. I can, and you can so request. You can
No, I read it, so.
Do any other councilors prefer it be read in the record?
No.
I'm only opting not to because I don't think it's necessary, but I will certainly be happy to. Councilor Bennett, any comments, questions, or concerns?
No, I do think that this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I've had a chance to read through it, and I have no objection to moving it forward.
Again, we might not see it for a while, you never know, but I think it's good to have in our pocket. No further discussion then? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, thank you. All right, moving right along, pertaining to, from the docket of January 18th, pertaining to the administration's request to amend the charter concerning a vacancy in the office of mayor. You'll recall that a couple weeks ago, I proposed and gave the council language about a possible stopgap measure in lieu of amending the charter in this manner under these kind of time constraints. I'm of the opinion that amending the ordinances is a stopgap measure which would give us time to more thoughtfully consider this and possibly related and non-related amendments to the charter in a different context. I have given you two proposed ordinances. One tracks section 3.7 of the, strike that, of the, hang on, I'm looking at my notes here. One tracks the temporary absence where the vice president automatically becomes acting mayor. The other one tracks section 3-8B of the charter, when it's a vacancy of less than 9 months and the council elects someone to fill that position. So I gave us options, only because they're both fair options to consider. But I don't know if you've had time to read that and ponder this issue as to A, do we want to amend the ordinances as a stopgap measure to address this issue should anything happen to the mayor in the near term such that the office is vacant? And B, if you do want to do that, which option is preferred? Council.
So there's two things going on. We're asking potentially for the state to make the adjustment, but then you're saying we can also do this, maybe it can live in the ordinance. That's what we're trying
Yes.
to accomplish.
So generally speaking, and as you may recall, when the solicitor was here, I presented this idea. Generally speaking, we're prohibited by doing anything that conflicts with the charter, the state law, the state constitution, et cetera. You can't do that. In this instance, however, nothing in the charter speaks to this particular issue. It's in fact a whole. So we have this little piece of possibility, if you will, to do this, to plug that gap, because it doesn't contravene what's in the charter, state law, or state constitution. So that's why this is possible, because there's nothing that speaks to it in any other way. And this also, the solicitor laid eyes on and didn't have an issue with it. She laid eyes on both of these options.
So if the state then comes back, we can always just delete this from the ordinance?
Yes, we would do that when we amend the charter.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question, because I was thinking about this as I read through this. The way that it reads right now, if we have an absence that's less than 9 months in duration, the city council will elect,
Yes.
right? Or I'm sorry, we call, if it's more than
It's a
9 months.
vacancy.
Yes,
First of all, watch it, it's
yes,
vacancy.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, oh, so we're dealing with the vacancy.
Yes, this is an issue of vacancy.
Okay.
Absence implies, remember, the solicitor's.
Absence is different.
Temporary.
Okay.
This is when the office is vacant with no one's returning to that seat.
Right, so if we have a vacancy that's more than 9 months in duration, we call for a special election.
Yes.
So the gap here to be filled is in between when the vacancy occurs and when the special election results in someone being sworn into office.
Yes.
If we call for that special election and we have a date,
Yes.
does that now create another, essentially a subset vacancy that is less than 9 months that could be filled through the special? So we have essentially 2 periods of vacancy. We have the vacancy that occurs for the remainder of the term that has to be filled by a special election, but once we vote to call the special election and we have a date for that election and we know when that inauguration is going to happen, we now have a shorter duration to fill that gap. It's less than 9 months in duration.
Right,
So if I could finish, so arguably, if we read just the plain reading of the ordinance as it is, that short duration vacancy that remains to be filled would be less than 9 months in duration. Wouldn't the rule then that's already on the books follow that, which would be the council elects someone to fill that short gap?
The way I understand the situation, the vacancy occurs on a certain date, right?
Yes.
There's no question as to when it occurs. It is then vacant as of this date.
That's right.
This provision would allow, the council would convene, or not, actually, wouldn't even need to convene if it were to be the president, it would just happen.
It would just happen.
Well, there are 2 options presented. One says on the date the vacancy occurs, the president will become acting mayor without action of this body. The second option is this body convenes and elects. So it depends which one you're talking about.
So I think that what I'm trying to say, and it's difficult to articulate here, is that if we read the way that it currently reads, we already have a way to fill the gap. If we look at that as if it is a vacancy, right, between the date that the vacancy, the big V vacancy occurs, and when the special election is convened and we bring someone else into office. That short duration, whether it's 3, 4, 5 months in length, is less than 9 months. But wouldn't we just follow our existing procedures?
The language of this charter is if there's the remaining time of the term. It doesn't say the time between the vacancy and the special election.
Okay. So that's another avenue that could be explored.
I suppose.
Is to simply clarify that.
I suppose, but
Potentially.
it's that again is a charter issue, which what I'm trying to do here is
Avoid.
yes, because these are questions that I think need more time and consideration.
Sure.
What I'm trying to do here is, as you may recall from the public hearing, the mayor repeatedly, because if something were to happen to him or someone in that seat, we need to do something about it right now.
Sure.
But I'm aware that there are other options available, but I don't want to. I'm trying to fill it now in case that happens and give us time for more thoughtful conversations to change this and perhaps other things as well. So yes, I understand what you're saying. That's a charter change.
Understood.
As the charter currently stands, the issue is if there's more than 9 months in the term.
Okay.
Now, on a side note, I did reach out to the elections office, And according to Cheryl Perry, it would take approximately 2 months, and I believe the tune of $30,000 to $35,000 to stand up a special election. I mean, yeah, 8 weeks, 2 months, and $30,000 to $35,000 to tune up, to stand up the special election. So I appreciate your question, but again, that's, to me, all the more reason why we need to give more thoughtful
And the
consideration.
Sure. If I could, the reason I raised it is this question's been posed to me. Well, don't we already have?
Yeah.
Isn't there already something
No, it's the
contemplated?
remainder of the
And so
term.
to be clear, the gap here is that, it only addresses the term. And so I think that through the ordinance, yes, we can provide through a small revision of the ordinance here, we can provide a stopgap. And it's a philosophical question as to which one I think that the city would like to see happen, which is going to be expedient, which is going to provide a clear direction, and which is not going to conflict with what already exists in our charter.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to do here, is just fill it in the case of that emergency were to happen. And then consider this issue and other issues in the charter, because another item in my committee is a charter study. So it seems like the time to explore this and other questions in my mind, which I'm open to. And I think that public input is also important, that this is something that we need to give thoughtful consideration to in time, and I don't want to be rushed in this circumstance, So the question is then, if we agree that a stopgap measure is an attractive option, which do you prefer? I'm okay with either one myself. It doesn't really matter to me. They both make sense because one comports with what appears to be some people's expectation. The other one comports with the other expectation, which is if it's a vacancy of less than 9 months, the council votes. Either way, it's a stopgap measure. It's not going to be the last and final solution, so. Yes, Council.
That the president of the council taking over has worked.
Yeah, and that is obviously
You
the
know,
expectation that many
If
people.
it's not broke, don't fix it.
I agree with you as a stopgap measure. Whether that's what's ultimately amended is a separate question, but yeah.
This council should not be voting on who's mayor. Should not be. Becomes a political football in here. I'd like to be mayor. Richard Conte would like to be mayor, right?
Yeah, but Council.
I guess we both would have liked it.
Richard Conte does not want to be mayor.
Yeah, okay. But what I'm saying is, that stopgap works. President takes over till we call the special election. It's pretty goddamn simple.
I'm agreeing with you, Counselor.
You might want to refrain from your language.
Don't muddy the waters just
No, I
to
agree
write
with you.
something on a piece of paper.
I agree with you.
Council Dillon?
I agree that we need some type of stopgap measure until we can address the charter, but, and I don't care either way, if it's the president or if it's we elect. I think the only concern or consideration is, and I'm not speaking for the current president, but if someone wants to be council president, maybe they don't want to be mayor.
Right.
And so I guess when you elect to be council president and you want to be council president, that's always a possibility. So I think that would be the only real argument to elect, but
Yeah.
it really, I have no preference.
Yeah, no, I've read-
I'm not invested either way.
I've
So-
read municipalities that they've done different ones. I came across one municipality where the resident didn't want to be mayor. He had other obligations. Some people may have a conflict depending upon what your job is. You may have a conflict of interest that prevents you. I think down the road, we don't need to have that discussion right now, but it's a discussion we're gonna have. In this instance, for the stopgap measure, I'm fine either way.
If you
But these are issues, Peter, that we need
If
to
you're worried
discuss.
about that, then if the president doesn't want to be mayor, or can't be, then the vice president. But not going through this council electing a mayor. Does not make sense to me. It's a political football.
I agree.
All you're doing is muddying the water. You get a group that's working fairly well together, and all of a sudden you could have a political turmoil. If you want something more than just a president taking over, one sentence in this thing, in case he declines the position, it would go to the vice president. Right? You get two shots at it that way. and then maybe senior counselor. I mean, but you could outline it real simple without going through a lot of paperwork, a lot of hassle.
That's fine. That's a conversation we can have.
It's worked before. No reason it can't work again.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councilor Blair. I think
Thank you.
that this is something that's tried and true. We've seen it in practice. We've seen it happen over difficult circumstances and over lengthier periods than what the city anticipated, and we've seen it work. We have seen the council president in the past step up to fill that role when needed, and there was never a question that it was the appropriate move. And I think that knowing that history and knowing that a succession plan makes sense and it's important for the city and for the security to make sure that we continue operations as if nothing is happening, I think that, to me, that makes sense. That is the succession plan that I would assume we would have.
When I was vice president, I actually served as mayor for 4 or 5 days. Frank Cook was out of the state. He couldn't. Kevin was out, and I actually served. So there is a procession in that instance, so
All right.
it could be that simple.
It may be, but
Stopgap.
again, I think that's a discussion for another day when we talk about the charter. But the point of today's discussion is, do we want to opt for a stopgap measure, and if so, which one? And it seems I can answer the second question. Are you councilors both okay with the idea of a stopgap measure? Do this for now, and then we can get in this larger discussion. Okay.
Yes.
And am I correct to, it seems like you're inclined to like option, the first option, option 1, which comports with what appears to be people's expectations that the president takes over, and if not the president, vice president?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. In as much as we don't want to waste time, because the mayor now got me concerned that he's going to get hit by a bus anytime in the near future, I'm going to read in option 1, and then we can vote on it?
Yes.
All right. All right. Okay, so let me just get my act together here. 1 second. Okay. Now, my only concern is this. We did have a public hearing pertaining, and this is probably an issue for the president, but we had a public hearing pertaining to this issue in as much as it concerned amending the charter. I don't think we need a new public hearing because the issue remains the same, except we're creating an ordinance. So, does anybody have reason to think that we need to call?
I don't
think so.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
do
think
not
so.
think we need to, because the issue remains the same. We're not really changing anything.
Okay, that's what I would say too. If we're all in accord, the president will let us know if he disagrees, and
Yeah, and we'll
Okay.
go from there, yeah.
all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to amend the ordinances. I entertain a motion to amend the revised ordinances as follows, pertaining to Chapter 2 of the revised ordinances. Adding Section 2-1.1A, transition process when a vacancy of more than 9 months occurs in the office of mayor. Small I, to ensure a smooth transition and steady execution of powers and duties of the office of mayor in the event of a vacancy described in Section 3-8A of the Charter, the following measures shall be in effect until the adoption of superseding amendments to the Charter. 2, commencing on the date said vacancy occurs, the president of the municipal council, or in the event of the president's disability, the vice president shall become acting mayor and shall serve in that capacity until a new mayor is elected as provided by Section 9-5 of the Charter and sworn into office. 3, the acting mayor shall have all rights and powers of the mayor, except that the acting mayor shall not make any permanent appointment or removal unless the disability of the mayor has continued for a period of 60 days. Strike that. Hang on, that should... nor shall the acting mayor approve or disapprove any measure until within 24 hours of the time it would take effect without the approval of the mayor. During said period, the acting mayor shall lose the acting mayor's vote as a member of the municipal council. 4, after the acting mayor has been required to serve in that capacity for a continuous period exceeding 15 days, the acting mayor shall become eligible to receive such salary as the municipal council shall by ordinance determine, provided that no ordinance establishing or amending such salary shall be effective until the start of the term of office following its adoption. Said salary shall be retroactive to the beginning of said continuous period of service. While receiving said salary, the acting mayor shall be ineligible to receive a salary as a member of the municipal council.
Second.
Second. All right, thank you. So that is the provision. The only thing I'm going to have to change is the language in the three, section 3 there, the 3 I's, that I just noticed has, unless the disability of the mayor has continued. That is obviously not the case. They shall not make any permanent appointment or removal. So I think I'm going to ask for a friendly, are you ladies with me here?
Yes.
Okay. So as you understand that language there should not be there because this is not, the mayor is not in this instance disabled, the office is vacant. So I guess I would entertain a friendly motion to strike, and tell me if you disagree, the language that's, unless the disability of the mayor has continued for a period of 60 days, that we strike that language? Would somebody make that motion? You agree? You want time to think about it?
Can you read it? Can you
Yes.
read it out?
So I'm in the 3 small I's.
Yep.
And so what I did, to be honest with you, I basically cut and pasted from the language in the charter that
Okay.
pertains to absences. So that's why it's in there. And I missed that the first round.
Yes.
So I'm proposing or asking for a friendly amendment to strike, starting with the word unless, to 60 days.
Second.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. It shouldn't be there. Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Council DeSimone?
Yes.
We do need a public hearing on this.
Oh,
So,
okay.
before you vote on the motion, we do need a public hearing. Virginia and I just checked, we were checking that out back, so.
Okay.
We could do it.
So we should take this back because we're
Yeah.
voting on
I'll
it.
take back my second.
But the good thing is you've got it read into committee, so you don't need to read it again. But we do need a
Okay.
public hearing, so the motion should be to call for a public hearing. Let me take a look, it might be April 15th or the 29th, but I think we only have 2 so far on the 15th, April 5th, rather.
All right. So the second withdrawn, so the motion's off the table. That's good. It gives me time to make that amendment.
Yep.
And then I would entertain a motion to have a public hearing on this proposed ordinance on April 5th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Of having a public hearing? Yes, okay. All right, okay, good. Well, that actually helps out. All right, so we're all in understanding about where we are at this particular moment in time?
Yeah.
I'll clean up the language. My apologies for that. That's what, when you cut and paste, sometimes that happens. All right, very good. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 6:57.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies. Yeah. This one? Yeah.
We'll go first. We'll go into business.
What's that?
We'll go first. We'll go into business.
I have business.
Oh, sorry, man.
I don't have, you're licensing, so.
Yeah.
You said we.
Because you're on the screen.
Oh. I was like,
I'm just making myself at home.
Just thinking about the chair. Right?
I need a bigger desk.
I am. That's like the longest minute ever.
Yeah, well, it's about 20 seconds.
Second.
So, I don't know if anybody has any questions. We know these are those RRFPs that we've been seeing all over the city, and I love them. Does anybody have any questions or anything about this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of March 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to appropriate $28,500 from account 6000-359000 wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings to account 6000-530101
I'll go back.
wastewater enterprise fund professional services to hire a consultant to help develop the SSO notification plan.
Second.
Thank you. So this is a DEP mandate. SSO stands for sewer overflow, sanitary sewer overflow. I don't know if anybody read the backup material. I won't read everything. So again, this is a DEP regulation that apparently nobody in the state is happy about. It's regarding notification for a lot of things that wastewater does. Now, just to be clear, wastewater is in compliance with everything, every permit they have, everything that they've been doing. There are no issues. That's not why this is statewide. So basically, it's a notification process to the residents. And I talked to Tom Hayes, and he doesn't know exactly how it's going to happen. We need to hire a consultant to make sure we do it right, because if you don't do it right and you don't do it properly, they'll prosecute us, Tom, regarding these permits. So even if they discharge water, like if you read it, I don't want to bore everybody, but any SSO that flows into the surface of the water in the Commonwealth and as a result in sanitary sewer system surcharging under high flow conditions when peak flows cannot be conveyed in treatment facility due to capacity constraints. So that could be something as simple as they need to take a pump offline and do routine maintenance. They have to notify the residents, and they have to notify the residents in several languages, in several forms. So it would be, he doesn't know exactly what the forms would be: social media, reverse 911, city website, newspaper, and it has to be multilingual, and it has to occur every 8 hours. And part of the concern is, you're going to be bombarding people with information. Besides that, information that most people don't understand, including myself, because when I was talking to him about this, it was like, so, again, I just want to be clear that there's no issues with any permits that we have now. We're completely in compliance with everything. And this would, even if we had to take a pump offline and do preventative maintenance, which could take a week, residents still need to be notified. So in order to do this right and according to the law and properly, they need to hire a consultant, which apparently, because this is statewide, the consultants the phones are ringing off the hook and people are freaking out because they have till July 6th. We have till July 6th to get this done and up and running. And this also includes anybody that's downstream from us, which would include Rhode Island, that we have to notify. So, if you have questions, I will try to answer them, but otherwise I can get an answer from Tom.
So this consultant, would he follow this from like the course of a year, or he would just get it set up to handle this properly?
They would get it, yeah, they would set up everything, because, we don't have reverse 911 that we use regularly here. So it has to be, they have to set up a communication system that works properly, that hits enough points, whether it be social media, reverse 911, website, newspaper. So this consultant will do all that, which clearly it's going to cost us this money. But again, when you're talking prosecution, if you don't do it properly, there could be major issues. So that's what the consultant will do, is set us up to make everything go how it's supposed to go.
Since every city in the state needs it, the sooner that we get this done, the better.
Yeah, and he said that when he called the consultant that they knew that, he's like, I know what you're calling for. So apparently everybody's been bombarded and nobody's really happy about it. So this is where we are. Does any,
I'm just gonna say, I don't know why they're not happy about it. It informs the public, which we should be. It allows people to know what's going on with the wastewater systems and all, and so I can understand that it puts them under pressure to possibly do things correctly, but I think it's a great idea, and it's unfortunate that it has to happen so quickly, but, you know, it's long overdue, really, the notification process, I think, of these kinds of things to the residents.
right, but, and I should probably take that back. It's not the notifying the residents, it's the time constraint that we have to get this done. The, you know, you have the underlying threat of prosecution if it's not done properly and not done on time, so you have that. And then the workload, because they don't even know what it's going to look like. They have no idea who's going to be responsible to get this, to have this information out to the
Change is a
public.
bummer, but it
I understand.
happens
But-
to us
and-
all.
And another thing, what concerns me as a citizen, and if it's something that's maintenance, routine, that's what concerns me about that going out to the residents. Because I know sometimes when I get notifications, I'm like, what is this and why are you notifying me? And when you have to notify somebody, they might panic, you know, and be like, what's happening, you know, which I would do myself. So I think it came on so quick. They just passed this in January. The DEP just implemented this in January. We have till July. So I think it's a lot to take in at the time, right now, and the fact that of the amount of things that need to be reported when it's just regular maintenance or whatever the case is. So I don't want to speak for Tom, so I take that back. Tom will, you know, will always do his job. So I don't want to imply anything else.
No, I don't think you did.
Thank you. So this, maybe with the IT committee, there could be some work to notify residents, or it sounds like there needs to
It
be.
may, yeah, it probably will involve everybody. So yes, but Tom doesn't know exactly what this consultant is going to do exactly and how it's going to work. But everybody, we have to do it. So whoever needs to get involved, it's all hands on deck to get it done by July 6th. So, President DeLucia?
Thank you. Yeah, so I think part of the problem, and we see this a lot, is it's another unfunded mandate. And, you know, those who serve with Frank Cook know that he would be beating the
Yeah.
drum around the...
That's who I think of every time someone says that phrase.
Yeah, and that's the reality here. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with what this process is about. But like you said, decision was made in January. You have to, you know, have it taken care of. What does it say? The notification plan on or before July 6th. So I think in this time when communities and municipalities are struggling to get out from underneath and emerge from the pandemic, to have another unfunded mandate, it's challenging to say the least.
Right.
But, you know, when I look at the funding source coming through the retained earnings, it's one of the reasons we have the retained earnings. And we're lucky
Exactly.
to have those retained earnings.
Yep, exactly. Does anybody else have any questions? And obviously, anybody can contact Tom, or just email me if you think of anything, and I can contact Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That's all the business for Public Works tonight. I'd like to call for an adjournment at 7:10. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order at 7:10. Sitting on this committee are myself, Vice Chair Councilor Clovis, and Councilor Reynolds. I have two motions to bring before you this evening and a couple of discussions that we need to have take place. So first, the motions. From the docket of March 15, 2022, I entertain a motion to appropriate $30,000 from account 1000-359000, undesignated fund balance, free cash general government, to account 1145100-517240, treasurer Medicare tax, to cover anticipated expenses for the remainder of fiscal year 2022.
Second.
Thank you, Council Thomas. This measure comes before the council every year. It's routine. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. Does anyone have any comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. From the docket of March 15, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $50 from account 1161100-42010 Clerk Supplies Office to account 1161100-573010 Clerk Dues to pay the Massachusetts City Clerk Association dues.
Second.
Being a member of the Bristol County and Massachusetts Assessors Association, I can say this is a very worthwhile $50 expense. The amount of education that the city clerk can obtain from other city clerks who she will meet in this association will be very beneficial to her as she learns her new job. So this is I highly encourage the passage. That concludes my comments. Does anyone else have any comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. In the arena of the $150,000 for the feasibility study, we've had a few developments. One is that the Council on Aging Director has submitted to the council statistics for the activities that have been held in the Council on Aging for the last 2 years, during which there was a pandemic, so the figures look pretty disappointing. Additionally, at my request, she met with the assessor, and the assessor located 14 parcels of land throughout the city, which may be potential future Council on Aging sites. I've asked the assessor to return to her office to develop those maps into a format that councilors will readily be able to understand, because she obtained them from several different sources, making it incongruent from map to map to map to map, making it difficult, I think, for a layperson to understand what parcel she was referring to. So when she's ready, that will come forward to you. So you can ignore the memo from Melissa on the land, and you have the data for the participation and the activity level of the Council on Aging that we requested. So and there are other developments that are in the wind, so we're going to let them mature before we take this measure up. Moving on to the capital improvement.
Question
Yep,
on that. So why are we delaying the $150,000 in the feasibility study in favor of waiting for that data?
It's a good question, and the answer is very simple, is that we would like to get our ducks in a row before we make the commitment to the funds, so that the proper direction is given to the people who will be doing the feasibility study. And right now, that is not quite mature. The second thing that happened in the process of this is I was looking at the parcels of land that the city owns, wondering, why is the city sitting on all this land? You've got $1 or $2 million worth of property here that we could sell to developers and maximize the use of the land and use the funds for something that we all need and want, including a Council on Aging Center. So I want to see that mature before we put the measure up to the committee and pass it on to the council. I would like to see the ducks in a row. I would also like to see the Council on Aging Director spend a little bit more time either with surrounding Council on Aging facilities to see what their future plans are, so that that too could be put into the input session for the feasibility study. Listening to Jack, I understand, the whole, I've sat through the building commission meetings, where they interview architects and they select a book and they decide who's going to be the architect. And thinking back to the animal shelter and how that went together, there's some fears that I have in that process. So I would like to, and I don't think I'm alone in this matter, have the committee pull together all the information that's appropriate before we take a vote on $150,000.
That makes sense to me.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Councilor Reynolds.
And I am just going to say that I'm right behind Councilor Conti in this need to hold it. I'm not ready to push it forward either.
You know, set. Councilor Delicio.
Yeah, I just add, I think you did a fine job articulating what's going on. I think the other thing to be aware is I think there's other stakeholders that are doing some additional diligence as well. So, you know, we're not going to be able to put a shovel into the ground next week. We're looking several years down the road. So giving it the time to kind of grow, mature, and let the key stakeholders do that diligence, I think will pay dividends in the end.
Thank you, because I think you're agreeing with me that we need to get our ducks in a row before we write the check.
Yep.
And it's a lot of money. Now, you know, I do know that we looked at the feasibility study for the combined public safety complex. That's a whole different story. And what's so very different about that is that the police department and the fire department are union, paramilitary, very organized, highly planning, very specific in what their needs are. They already know. That's not such the case with the Council on Aging, and I think that we need to get somewhere close to that point. So, all set with that? Let's move on to the capital improvement program. Before we take a motion to approve the capital improvement program, I'd like to have a discussion about the plan itself and the abbreviated memo that I circulated to you and others regarding my interpretation of the priorities by definition and the reassigning of priorities to the capital improvement projects as a result of rereading them and reviewing the capital improvement project definitions. Now, I think I got into this a little bit last meeting, and I'm taking full blame for this, because having been capital improvement chairman for the past several years, I've trained everybody that if you want something to happen and it goes in the capital improvement plan, you better make it urgent, because there isn't enough money to fund anything but urgent items. As a result, we have a plethora of urgent items in the book. It's my fault. I'll take full accountability. So now that we have had the enjoyment of ARPA funds, and we have funded a lot of programs that have been waiting for years and years and years, my entire tenure on the council, it's a different scenario this year. It is time for us to do true capital improvement planning in accordance with the definitions inside the plan. So something that's urgent is urgent. And if it's not, then it's priority 1, or priority 2, or priority 3, as according to the definition in the book. And given that, we go from $8 million in urgent projects to less than $1 million. Now, where I would like to go with this is I would like to get us to a point where we could vote to approve the city's capital improvement program for fiscal year 23 through 27, and write a resolution for the mayor that says, in the capital improvement plan, these are the things that we would like to see the mayor send down to the council ahead of other things. So that involves the whole council, not just this committee. But I want to hear your comments, because I believe that this should be a committee process and not a chairman process of how we should direct our efforts this year in the capital improvement program. Councilor Cobus, do you have any thoughts?
I like the idea of coming up with a prioritized list of items, and but I do agree that I'm not prepared to put together that list tonight, but I think we should come up with a proposal to then present to the full council. So I think it's a great plan.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds, any thoughts?
I'm all for it. I love that we went from a plethora of urgent, and we're down to like 1 million there. And I think it's long overdue to have decided and set aside. And we were fortunate with extra monies to be able to fund a lot of those projects. And now it's time to relook at it all.
So I'm going to ask you and all other councilors to spend a little time with the book and isolate things that have caught your attention, and be prepared to present them to the committee and the council. And what, we want to write that letter before we get to the budget process. So we want the capital improvements letter to go to the mayor before the mayor sends down the budget, so that he has an opportunity to see what we have to say about capital improvements, to adjust his budget before it comes down to us.
In order
the
to
whole
fund the
idea.
capital
Yeah,
improvement. line
that's the
item.
whole idea, and why the charter says we should get the book on January 1st.
Sure.
So, we'll put this on hold for 2 weeks, and we could even go 4 weeks, but in 4 weeks, we gotta be prepared to really nail this thing down and bring it out to the council and seal it.
I'd like to review it in 2 weeks and then,
We'll try it in 2 weeks, so we'll try it
Yeah,
next,
2
we'll try it
weeks.
next meeting. Council DeSimone.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. Forgive me, did you send out the email that you discussed last committee meeting where you did some reorganization? Did we get that? Do I have to
Yeah,
go
it's
through my
it's
emails?
not a pretty memo, it's simply
Okay.
a spreadsheet.
All right, I shall find it then.
And-
It's the
and
February 23rd.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Came from
it's-
Virginia.
it's not a memo by any stretch of the imagination, it's simply a spreadsheet.
All right, thank you.
Council Delicio.
Thank you. If I can just make a comment, I appreciate this approach. I think it's the right approach. I think you're astute in the way you're delivering this with all the money that we have spent on vehicles, equipment, projects. These are a lot of these projects have been on the capital improvement for years, as long as we've been on the council, in some cases. I think it was an opportunity where we had cash to be able to buy it, which is a lot better than bonding for it, stretching the capacity that way. That being said, I think with all the global factors going on right now, I think it's time that we look at, to use your phrase, how do we close that checkbook? I think we need to practice the pause on quite a few things going forward. I think now it's prudent to, where we had that one-time infusion of cash, to, like you said, we took how many projects and pieces of equipment from urgent to even from ones and twos off that capital improvements book. I think it's now time that we start to really scrutinize some of the spending that we have going forward. We're already seeing when we appropriate money for vehicles, it's coming back because there were add-ons that, because of inflation, have gone up, or because of the supply chain, we may not be able to get. So I think these are really real factors that we're going to be dealing with going forward, and especially with what could be a challenging fiscal '23 and '24. I think now's the time to take your approach and look at really what is the must-haves versus the nice-to-haves. Thank you.
Well, thank you for triggering my nerves. This is the worst time to ever be a finance chairman on a municipal council. Driving to work and watch the gas prices change daily?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? The report that I circulated to the council 4 weeks ago, that our monthly costs have gone up nationwide on an average of $279 a month. Looking at this capital improvement plan and reading the Wall Street Journal on the cost of building supplies rising astronomically. The war in Ukraine causing an oil, this is not a great time to be thinking about spending money. I'll let that go at that. And that concludes my comments on the capital improvement plan. We'll address it in 2 weeks. Please be prepared. Please be prepared. Finally, from the docket of January 4th, I move that we transfer the following new business to be referred to the administration at the request of the Attleboro Historical Commission to seek a consultant to assist in the ranking of the city's existing historic resource inventory that is included in the inventory of Massachusetts Historic Commission.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor. This is simply a measure that needs to be dealt with by the administration and not by the council, plain and simple. So if you all agree, we'll pass that up to the mayor and let him deal with it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, and that concludes the business that the Finance Committee has to bring before the committee this evening. Thank you for your attention. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:25.
I call the Transportation and Traffic Committee to order at 7:25. With me tonight are Councilors Dolan and DeSimone. We have 3 items tonight. All 3 of these items had public hearings that were held on February 15th. From the docket of February 1st, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the following: amendment to section 10-4.18 to add the following section, 10-4.18E, The following streets are designated as having speed humps, speed cushions, and the city is hereby authorized and directed to erect and maintain speed humps/speed cushions. Add the following in proper alphabetical order: Claflin Street.
Second.
Motion is in order. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So this item, if you recall, this is just to add the speed humps on Claflin Street. We heard the mayor gave a lot of detail about what was planned and how much thought is going into the placement of these speed humps and how many speed humps will be placed. This is our first one, as far as I'm aware, where we're going to see these permanent speed humps get installed. So I think this will be an interesting process to go through and will help inform future speed hump requests that come through. Are there any other comments or questions? Nope. Okay. The next item from the docket of February 1st, 2022, I entertain a motion to amend Chapter 10-5.2A to add no parking on the southerly side of East Street, 510 feet from O'Neill Boulevard.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. This item, again, public hearing on 2/15/22. We didn't have anyone come to speak for or against, and I don't particularly have any concerns about this. Were there any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Blair?
Just a quick one.
Yes.
I missed that previous. Does that run from O'Neill Boulevard to Union Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not to Union. It's O'Neill.
Dunham.
It starts, if you're on East Street on the other side of O'Neill, so you know where Glines and Rhodes is, and the gymnastics place?
Yeah.
So it runs from there to O'Neill. Sorry.
Nope, that's
yeah,
absolutely,
sorry.
that's correct.
Wait 1 second. I thought I knew those streets over there pretty well. After 79 years in that neighborhood.
Do you get where I'm?
Oh, East Street, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's right,
I
East
misread
Street.
the ticket.
Yes.
Okay.
So now you know where I'm talking, where.
Yeah.
Okay.
I misread
And
the ticket.
if I
was
may
thinking-
say something?
Yes.
So Peter, it's just, there's a business over there, there's two businesses over there that do like yard sale type stuff that a lot of people go to, and then you have the gymnastics
That's
place.
the old bowling alley.
Yeah.
Not old enough
No.
to remember it was a bowling alley. Yes, it
Oh,
was.
yes, it was, it was. So anyway, and then you have Glines and Roads across the street.
Yeah,
People park on both sides of the
Yeah.
street, and they can't get deliveries, they can't get their trucks in, they can't make the turn.
Yeah.
So I just added like a small section, so that way, at least if that side cannot be, it can be no parking, they can, at least the trucks can enter. That's the only reason for
yeah,
this.
familiar with the problem over there, very much so.
So that was my business. Thanks.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of February 1st, 2022, I entertain a motion to amend Chapter 10-4.111, 10-4.11, isolated stop signs of the revised ordinances as follows. Delete, quote, westbound drivers on Bliss Avenue at Bourne Avenue, and replace with, quote, eastbound and westbound, that should say eastbound and westbound drivers on Bliss Avenue at Bourne Avenue, end quote.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Okay, so this item also had a public hearing on February 15th. No one had come out to speak for or against. Actually, I believe this one, we did get some input. I'm trying to remember, correct me if I'm wrong, that this one, or you know what, no, this one is not the one I'm thinking of. I apologize. This one, we had no one come and speak, but I did look up the maps, and this intersection makes a lot of sense to have both the westbound and eastbound drivers having stop signs. So as I understand it, the road's slightly offset. It was kind of an odd intersection, but it made sense to me looking at it that we would have that. And I believe this had come up prior to my time, that the
Yes.
Traffic Study Commission had looked at this and had
did.
made this recommendation.
It did.
Perfect, okay. Any other comments or questions on this item?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, that concludes the business for Transportation and Traffic Committee. I move to, excuse me. Move to adjourn at 7:31 PM. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 7:31.
Thank you. I call the IT and Infrastructure Committee to order at, say 7:41? 7:31. On the committee is myself, Councilor Holmes, and Councilor Conti. We have one item of business tonight. From the docket of March 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $1,870 from account 1124100057830 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 114110000-530102 assessor appraisal services to complete the appraisal process of additional telecommunication equipment within the city.
Second.
Motion's in order. This is to request a couple, $1,870 more for appraising cell towers within the city, telecommunication towers. There were 14 towers assessed already. Some additional towers or equipment was identified. There's 6 additional sites that need to be appraised, and this is to fund that appraisal. Any other questions?
Money well spent.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That concludes the business. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:32.
Zoning and Land Use Committees canceled this evening?
I'd like to call to order City Property and Claims Committee at 7:32. Members of my committee that are present are Councilor Angelo and Councilman Waterman. From the docket of March 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $1,100 from account 114510000-532015, treasurer/staff development, to account 11451000-542010, treasurer office supplies, to buy 5 new office chairs for the treasurer's office.
Second.
Thank you. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but are there any questions, concerns? Hearing none.
Sure, it's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes, and that is all the business that City Property Claims Committee has this evening. So I would like to call for an adjournment.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:33 PM.
There is, I'm canceling Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services, and we call for a meeting on the 15th at 6:30.
Second.
Thank you.
I don't know if you need a vote on that.
We don't.
Probably not.
So I'd like to call a special committee for tax abatement review to order at 7:34. Sitting on this committee are myself, Councilor DeSimone, and Councilor Bennett. And there's a couple things I want to discuss this evening. Number one, I want to inform you that I was notified today that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has instituted a 7% cost of living increase to the senior exemption program for this year, which is stunning. It's usually 1 or 2%. 7% is stunning. So, as a result of the 7% increase, seniors are applying for an exemption with the City of Attleboro for fiscal year '23, for which the deadline to apply is April 1st. If they're married, they must have, to qualify for the exemption, if they're married, they must have less than $54,563 in assets, not including their primary residence. And they must have less than $35,341 in annual income. That's a big jump over where we were last year. If they're single, the numbers are $50,926 in assets and $29,014 in annual income. So that is very good news for the senior population. Secondly, I want to bring up to you for discussion the measure that we have from the docket of September 18th, 2018, to create an elderly and disabled taxation aid fund. This is a measure that I think the Special Committee for Tax Abatement Review can move rather quickly on. Councilor DeSimone, you have noted that there are 3 communities in Massachusetts. I believe it's Cambridge, Brookline, and Newton, I think was the third one?
I don't recall.
Watertown.
Yeah. I don't-
So there's existing ordinances for trust funds already established. Now, inside City Hall, this hit City Hall like a surprise because the treasurer, the collector, the auditor all had no knowledge and no understanding of it. But I would like to push this forward by coordinating those 3 along with the assessor, so the 4 of them, over the next 2 weeks to come to some kind of agreement that the council can put forth something that mirrors one of the communities that already has this in place to establish the trust fund. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I was just refreshing my recollection because I had reached out to the assessor back in December about this, so I was like, I had to remember. Julie was going to do more research and respond. Did you get more information from Julie about this?
There've been some vacation periods, and this is the busiest time of the year
Okay.
for the assessor, so we're going to give her some slack because this is crazy. And what I want to do is, over the next 2 weeks, reach out to the 4 of them
Yep.
to say, have you been so busy that you've put this aside, or can we address this?
Okay.
If we put together something from Cambridge, for example, can you look at it and see if we can adopt this? What other measures do we need to have in place in order to make it functional? Okay?
Yep.
So I will be doing that over the next 2 weeks, and maybe at the next committee meeting, I'll have something for you to
All
look
right.
at.
Sounds good.
Additionally, from the docket of September 18th, I have sent a memo to the city solicitor about tax freeze program, and I haven't heard back from her, and I suspect that it's a constitutional issue that Chapter 59, Section 1 of the Massachusetts General Law says that everybody gets taxed January 1st of every year. So
Yeah.
when I hear from her, you'll hear from me. And that's all that I have for this evening. Any other discussion that you'd like to entertain with the committee? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:38.
Second?
Thank you,
I'd like to call
Councilor.
Public Safety Emergency Management to order at 7:38. Have 3 motions this evening. From the docket of March 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the expending of such funds and any future grant amendments regarding the fire department's receipt of the firefighter safety equipment grant from the Department of Fire Services for $19,090.
Second.
This is one of the grants we get basically every year, and it goes to good use, saves a lot of taxpayers' dollars for incidentals, small equipment and whatnot. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the docket of March 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $92 from account 112410000-578300, citywide reserve fund for transfer, to account 122010000-573010, fire dues, to replenish funds used for parking fees.
Second.
If you read the backup on this, they went to a ceremony honoring one of our firefighters, and this covers interstate tolls, parking. You say parking, I went to the hospital the other day. To go to the hospital cost me $40 to park. Right, so it's amazing what parking fees. Faulkner Hospital in Boston, $40.
And $200 of gas.
Huh?
$200 of gas.
No, that's crazy.
But anyway, that's what it was for, and it's just a transfer to put that money back in. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the docket of March 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $1,100 from account 11241-000-578300, Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 12101-000-514035, Police prior year longevity to pay FY20 and FY21 longevity payments that were not paid. As you all know, this is contractual, and this gentleman that's receiving this was a transfer over here, dispatcher, and he transferred to the Attleboro Retirement Fund, Attleboro Retirement, and it wasn't picked up when he retired, he come over, so that's why it's previous years.
Well, I second that.
Huh?
I said I second that.
She seconds that.
You
Oh.
finished?
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. That ends, I have no other business this evening. Move to adjourn at 7:42. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
The wrap.
Then you circle my name, and I'm like, yeah. What I'm thinking.
That committee, we changed, like, it used to be all.